Hello and welcome to the G.O.A.T Show. This is episode 7 here on the official home for the Ncaa tournament, VKU Kills. This is the Tournament Selection Sunday special. We are going to be previewing the entire field of 68. Well, we'll be previewing some of the field of 68. Who cares about the 16 seed play-in games? But, we'll preview the important stuff. And for a task this large, I obviously can't do it myself, so we have returning guest host, Mr.
Ian Bones Jones.
And you can follow him on Twitter. What's the new Twitter?
At Sports Talk Bones.
Yeah, there you go. Follow at Sports Talk Bones. I'm at the Caleb Short, by the way, if that matters. And we have the best host that no one's ever heard of, one of the founding fathers that goes around telling people that we don't let him on the show and that we're all terrible friends. But that's not true. He's actually, we're great friends, and he's a great host, and he's a great man. He is the Blonde Bomber. He is the Surly Cowboy. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
What's up? It's your boy Austin here.
Austin, who calls you that?
I know. Normally everyone calls me by my last name, but I'm going by Austin this time.
All right, so here we go. We've got the field laid out in front of you on your screen here, and let me maximize that, make that full screen actually. I just kind of wanted to start out first by just talking about the teams that didn't make it. And unlike previous years, actually, I think I'm 100% in agreement with the tournament selection committee. I don't think anybody got left out that should have been in. Do you guys have any other opinions on that?
Missouri Tigers should have been in.
Yeah, obviously.
No.
No, but everybody
Yeah.
kept talking about Syracuse.
No. I think Syracuse had too many losses, and the only two big ones they did have was at home.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like in this tournament, had it been the old format of 65 teams, I would not have been complaining about anybody. I mean, I feel like teams that made it, there's teams that made it that probably didn't deserve it, and not teams that didn't make it that did deserve it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah,
I agree.
I agree.
Like, K-State probably didn't need to be in. USC is really not that good. And if you could have left out either Wake Forest or Providence, and I'd have been perfectly fine with it, and we could have just had a field of 65. So, on that note, let's go ahead and jump right. We don't need to dance around it anymore. Let's start talking regionals. Let's start out with the East Regional. The regional will be played in New York City. Nice location, I suppose. The 1 seed Villanova, the 2 seed is Duke, the 3 seed's Baylor, the 4 seed is Florida. Let's just jump right in. Ian, give me some opinions on this regional.
I believe Wisconsin is very underseeded. They just played for a Big Ten championship, and obviously they lost, but I feel like they can give Villanova a run for their money.
Yeah, right out the bat, you're jumping on my point that I like to make. We saw UConn, what was it, 3 years ago now, make that win 5 games in 5 days in the Big East tournament in the old Big East and carry that momentum straight into a national championship. Teams that are able to exceed expectations in their conference tournaments and have a little bit of momentum going into the tournament, I'm always a big fan of.
Me too. I mean, this is really, I never really get into the tournament that much, but this year I really decided I'll get into it.
Yeah, it's a great event.
An intriguing matchup to me is the 7-10 matchup, South Carolina, Marquette. South Carolina can defend really well, but can't shoot. Marquette can shoot really well, but can't defend. So let's see how that one turns out.
An intriguing matchup, but
SMU,
an intriguing matchup, but for me, Duke is another one of those teams that, just like you said with Wisconsin, they're coming off of a big run in their conference tournament. A lot of people thought they had maybe moved themselves to the one line. Obviously not, but that's a team that, I mean, South Carolina, Marquette, Duke is a buzzsaw right now, and I have confidence in them.
I don't
so do I.
I don't see Duke losing. I see them making it out of that region. They've got everybody healthy finally, and everybody's confident, and they're on a good streak. Um, Luke Kennard is one of the best players in the country. Jason Tatum is one of the best freshmen. I don't see them losing.
Yeah, that's a solid pick right there with Duke. I mean, not to get ahead of ourselves, but I think I would probably have them coming out of the regional. Keep in mind, my bracket's not final. Let me plug my upcoming videos that don't exist yet, but my annual bracket fill-out video will be coming out here in the next couple days once I've had a chance to really seriously look at everything and break all of the nitty-gritty matchups down.
I'm also with Ian on the Wisconsin team. I believe they could knock out Villanova if they saw them because I was looking at Wisconsin, and they're actually a really good defensive team.
Yeah, they always are.
And
Football and basketball, they're always a big power team that, I mean, they've got a great tradition up there. They won the title 2 years ago. They're a confident bunch. Wasn't that 2 years ago?
Whenever they had Kaminsky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was 2 years ago.
Yeah, it might have been 2 years ago.
And
Another
I can
team that can shock some people is SMU.
There we go. SMU had to come up here at some point. That's a team we should be fans of with Ojale.
I'm very biased. I'm gonna admit, as a Mizzou fan, I kind of want KU to win it. Hot take right there. I want KU to win.
As a Mizzou fan, I'm a big fan of Kansas.
I feel like they're kind of, besides the lack of an inside presence, which we'll get to in the Midwest Regional, but SMU, he has a local tie to all of us here. We saw him play in high school.
One sec, I'm really excited to cut that audio and plaster that all over my Twitter and stuff. As a Mizzou fan, I really want KU to win it. I don't remember exactly what you said, but that's a quote.
Yeah, let's not and say we didn't.
That's a good quote. Yeah, SMU though. I think a lot of people are going to just look straight past Baylor. SMU over Baylor is such an easy upset to pick. Nobody's going to say
exactly.
Like they were saying on like they were saying on the selection show, none of the first four teams, which we didn't really talk about much, but none of the teams playing in the first four, the Providence, USC, Wake Forest, K-State, neither of those games look like they're going to produce somebody that's going to be able to knock off. In this case, it's a USC or a Cincinnati. Cincinnati's not really the strongest. Neither of those teams neither of those games are going to produce a winner that's particularly strong. Like in the past, we've seen Wichita State or VCU come out of that. Those are, mid-major teams that are a lot, I don't know, they just have a lot more tournament drive and are more prone to be able to knock off a higher seeded team.
SMU is frightening because they don't have much depth, but everyone that plays can score and rebound the ball. They're all their guards are like 6'6", and they're all lengthy. They're also really good defensively. They play a slower paced game, which I think will be good in the tournament. They don't even allow 60 points a game, which is very good. And they're hot. They're 12-0 coming into the tournament in the last 12 games.
Yeah. And the other thing about my teams, the upsets and stuff happening, is neither of the 6 seeds that the 11 seed play-in game teams are playing are from those power conferences. Those 5, 6, 7 seeded teams that are from power conferences are usually pretty weak. They're usually somebody like an Iowa State or something. It just comes to my mind, Iowa State always loses in the first round of the tournament. And there's a lot to those bigger, those average teams from bigger conferences. They seem to get knocked out in the early first or second round. It's not very often you see a 6 seed from a power conference make it to the Sweet 16.
No, it isn't. And in the East, there could be a possible 5-12 upset here because Virginia's not a good scoring
They never
team.
At least lately.
Never are. UNC Wilmington's always been one of those teams that can provide a threat.
And Wilmington's about 85 a game, which is, they can score the ball. They're not that great defensively, but if they can hit that 80 mark, they're going to win easily because Virginia can't score.
Yeah, Virginia averages 66 points a game. UNC Wilmington averages 85. Like, there's a pretty big discrepancy right there. And like I was saying earlier, Virginia's an average team from a power conference, and those are the teams that you lose in the early rounds. That's why the Big 12 always does so bad, because it's KU and then a bunch of average teams that get shit on in the first round. So let's go ahead and keep in mind none of these are official. None of us have really had enough time to look at the bracket to make definitive picks, especially myself. But let's go ahead and pick teams that we think are going to be. Let's pick our Elite Eight. Let's pick our team from each half, and then if you have any like team that you think is going to be a team that makes a run, like a 13, 14 seed or something that you think might win a game or two, but isn't going to be in your Elite Eight, you can mention them as well. I'll go ahead and kick things off here. In the top half of the bracket, that is, in my mind, a very weak top half of the bracket. Wisconsin's a good 8 seed, obviously, but they're still an 8 seed. And as much as I like them, it's a team that I think, I can't realistically pick them over Villanova. I think it's going to be a damn close game, though. So I'm going to take Villanova out of the top half. I don't have any confidence in Virginia or Florida. And in the bottom half of the bracket, I love SMU. If SMU was playing an Arizona, Kentucky, or a Louisville as their 2 seed on their half of the bracket, I would pick SMU into the Elite Eight. But I'm going to go with Duke out of that. I don't have any confidence in Baylor in the tournament. I generally always used to, as a child, I would pick a Big 12 team. I would pick the Big 12 teams in every game in their first round, and that doesn't work very well. So I'm going to go ahead and go heavy against the Big 12 this year because it's Kansas and everybody else, and it will, for the foreseeable future, it is going to stay that way. So Baylor, I think, could very easily lose to New Mexico State, and if not that, SMU will roll them. So I have Villanova and Duke, and I'm going to take Duke to my Final Four.
I agree with that, and just based on this, I'll choose your same Elite Eight, and I'll have you go to the Final Four.
And I will also agree with you. Villanova could easily lose to Wisconsin, but I'll take them just because I believe they're experienced. And like I said, I don't have confidence in Virginia. I will pick an upset right there. That'll be my first 5-12. And Florida's, I'm not confident either.
Honestly, looking at the entire field right now, 4s and 5 seeds seem to be pretty weak. Like, I think there's going to be, at least in one of the brackets, we're going to see a 12-13 matchup.
And SMU, I think Duke will make it to the Elite Eight, along with Villanova, and Duke will make the Final Four, in my opinion, as well.
Wait, did you say along with Villanova and Duke to the Final Four?
No, I said Duke and Villanova in the Elite Eight.
So who's your Final Four out of that?
Duke.
All right, so we've got, is that 3 Duke picks? I'm not going to go first next time. That way you guys can't just follow me.
Yeah, I'll go 3 Duke.
Well, that region's pretty simple.
Easy.
Yeah, Duke's on such a roll, and
It's honestly,
I don't have confidence. Then again, though, you can't overlook Villanova's experience right now. I mean, winning it all last year. So, and didn't Duke get bounced last year by Mid-Tennessee State? That was last year, right?
I don't remember.
All right. Well, I believe it was.
Been a year.
I believe Mid-Tennessee Duke was the team they upset. Anyway, we move on to the Midwest Regional. These games will be taking place in Kansas City, Missouri, at everybody's favorite venue that was supposed to be built for hockey but actually turned into a concert and Big 12 tournament arena, the Sprint Center. Kansas is your 1 seed, Louisville 2, Oregon 3, Purdue 4, Iowa State 5, Creighton 6, Michigan 7, blah, 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 who cares? Who cares? In my mind, this is the weakest regional. As much as as hardcore as I am for KU, and as much as my channel is called The KU Kills, I'm not a fan of KU, and I'm not a fan of this year's KU team. I've been up and down on them, and it's not just the TCU loss. KU is not a team that they depends on if they're so top heavy. We saw they take Josh Jackson out for the game and they lose. Well, Josh Jackson is very prone to foul trouble. He's been good at that this year. Frank Mason had to put up 29 and they still lose. If Frank Mason doesn't go crazy, they don't go far. You know, it's not a team that I look at right now and see that's a team playing with swagger and charisma that's going to be able to run through the regional. Louisville, I don't like them. Oregon, I would have liked them, but they had one of their starters get hurt, and I can't remember his name right now. But who cares? I don't like Purdue. I hate Iowa State in the NCAA tournament. They always seem to get bounced early. Iowa State every year is, oh dang it! I had them going to the Elite Eight and they lost in the first round and they destroy my bracket. I mean, Gilkey, you got any thoughts on this?
Of course I gotta go with KU from there because
Hello?
team that's
All right,
off and
hold
on.
up, Gilkey. Whatever you just said, re-say it because I lost you for a second.
Oh, I said of course I gotta go with KU home team. Um, I am worried about them a little bit because they don't have as much depth. I wouldn't be as worried if they had Udoka because that would help us tremendously. But I think it's just their problem is I think Devonte Graham defers a little too much. Like he just doesn't go score, and he can be a great scorer, and he's gonna have to in the tournament. Um, Iowa State, not a big fan of them. I think they could get knocked out. That's another 5-12 that could get. Purdue has an amazing big man, and surrounded by 3-point shooters, so they could be a little frightening. Creighton, not a big fan. They lost one of the starters, torn ACL, I believe. So Rhode Island, I think, can win that one. Oregon, I think Oregon is being overlooked just because they lost a starter. They have one of the best players in the country, Dylan Brooks. He could honestly take Oregon on his back himself. They're great defensively, and they can score the ball with anybody. I watched them play UCLA this season, and they scored with them they won the game. That's the game that I watched. I think they're going to be scary, and people are overlooking them. Louisville, I don't think Louisville's as strong as what people. 4-7 versus the top 25. That's not that good.
Yeah, so you just quoted my top 25 stat that I've been looking at here. Here you go. Here's a breakdown of what KU's looking at. Iowa State 3-6 against the top 25. Purdue 1-5 against the top 25. So that's their half of the regional, providing they're able to make it past either Tom Izzo or Miami. Miami's probably a better team there, but Michigan State has Tom Izzo, and Tom Izzo in the tournament is terrifying. And then on the other side, you've got Oregon with whoever got hurt. I don't know how much that'll end up affecting them. If they make it to KU, they're obviously doing fine. Louisville 4-7 against the top 25, like you were saying. But here's the scary one for me. Michigan, hot. They just won their conference tournament. I believe they won, 4 games in 4 days? They're 4-2 against the top 25. To put that in contrast, the team they're playing, Oklahoma State, is 1-9 against the top 25. So they've done well against top quality opponents. Their RPI is they're 30 RPI. That puts them at they're underseeded according to their RPI. According to their BPI, they're way underseeded. They're good defensively. They can score all right. I like Michigan actually probably I think Michigan could be an Elite Eight team. I think Michigan has all of the signs of the UConn team from a few years ago where they're able to get hot and they're able to run through some teams.
Yeah, see, I was going to say something about that. They have one of the best guards in the country, that Walton guy, I think that's his name. I
Yeah.
forget his name. They're hot. They beat a team, SMU, that I like by like 20 plus this season. I think if they meet Louisville in the next round, they'll beat them, and I do think they're a Sweet 16 team. I don't know about Elite Eight. I still think Oregon could knock them out, but Michigan...
They might have had the most beneficial plane crash or near plane crash in world history, because that's the sort of thing that you bond, like, that's a rallying cry. You don't even, it's kind of like we talk about whenever KU loses their inevitable terrible Big 12 season loss, and we go, well, that'll help them in the tournament. And it's the same thing for Michigan right now, except instead of losing a game, they almost lost their lives.
I think that's a little bit more serious than a game.
Yeah, but they both have the same effect. They're both a rallying cry.
True.
Excuse me, smoker's cough.
I wish they would play in their practice jerseys the entire tournament. That'd be very good.
I wish we could have played in our practice jerseys in high school. People would have loved that.
All right, so my picks. The reason why I want KU to win is because I like Frank Mason. I really like Frank Mason. Just his work ethic and everything. It's top-notch, top of the line. So I see KU. I can see Miami or Michigan State giving them trouble. I have Miami advancing, but it's hard for me to go against Tom Izzo in the tournament. Iowa State, I feel like they're going to get upset, even though they have momentum on their side.
Yeah,
they have momentum on their side.
Yeah, they're one of those teams. Yeah, they were able to run through the thing, but I'm going to undervalue the Big 12 this year, and I'm going to undervalue.
If they could have played KU in the championship,
I'm going to undervalue the Big 12 this year, and they're just such a damn streaky team. You can't judge them.
Purdue, Vermont. I don't know much about either team, but I mean,
throw one out there.
I'm going to say Vermont. I'm going to say there's going to be a 12-13 matchup in Milwaukee. Creighton, Rhode Island, and then Oregon's going to beat Iona. Michigan, and then Louisville and Indianapolis. I have Michigan playing Oregon in the Sweet 16. And then it's going to be KU and Oregon out of the Midwest Regional for the Elite Eight. And KU is going to come out on top and going into the Final Four.
I have the same thing as Ian there.
Of course you do. All right, so now I'll give my I already talked about everything, but I'll just talk about it again this time, giving you some winners. I think Michigan State will probably go to quadruple overtime against KU. The thing is, if I was not a Kansas fan, I would pick Michigan State over Kansas. That just screams Tom Izzo all over it. And yeah, and the fact that I don't like this Kansas team because they've just played so many freaking close games this year. Eventually, it's going to bite them, and the tournament is normally when that sort of thing happens because 67 teams lose in the tournament. So Kansas though, they're going to get through that. I have no freaking idea who to pick. I don't like a single one of these teams. I was reading about Nevada and Vermont, and I don't have it. They're nothing special to me. So as much as I'm voting against Iowa State, I think that of that quadrant, as any single one of those, it's a freaking coin toss for both of them. So I'll just throw it to Iowa State for funsies probably when I'm filling out my bracket, just because they've got a little bit of momentum. And then Kansas, Iowa, and because I would love to see Kansas, Iowa State in Kansas City. That's going to be the freaking toughest ticket to possibly get of any of the regional final matchups. In the bottom half of the regional, Rhode Island will probably beat Creighton. There's a 11-6 upset. Those aren't much of an upset, but I like Rhode Island probably.
Rhode
Um,
Island's versus the top 25.
yeah, I don't know what to make of Oregon. Uh, Dylan Brooks could just strap the team on his back and carry him to the dang Final Four, but who cares? But I'm going to pick, I already talked about this earlier, probably going to take Michigan to the Elite Eight for me. And it'll be KU, it'll be Michigan, and Kansas will win and go to the Final Four.
And see, I can't really disagree with you there because Oregon's a toss-up for me.
Yeah.
But I'm just riding high on Oregon.
Yeah.
I've watched them play quite a bit this season.
I
so
think Michigan will beat Oklahoma State by 35. There's my there's my pick for you.
35.
Yeah, it's going to be a massacre.
God dang.
Where's that game happening?
God
It's happening in
dang.
Indianapolis, so it's closer to Michigan.
I don't think 35.
It's gonna well maybe they'll pull their foot off the gas and start resting the bullet, but yeah, that's going to be a massacre. Which day is that happening? It's happening on the 17th. What day is the 17th? 17th
Friday.
is Friday. Dang it! I was kind of hoping that would be a Thursday game because I'm excited to see that one. Let's move on to the South Regional, boys. Why is our Final Four the same? I don't like this here. Let me just advance.
I don't like it.
Duke, Kansas.
KU.
All right, Duke and Kansas. All right, now moving on to the South Regional. We've got North Carolina as the 1 seed, Kentucky Wildcats as the 2 seed, the Bruins of California, Los Angeles as the 3 seed, the Butler Bulldogs are the 4, the Golden Gophers are the 5, the 6th seed is the Cincinnati Bearcats, the 7th seed is the Dayton Flyers. Who cares? Austin, talk.
All right. UNC will breeze through because, quite honestly, Seton Hall and Arkansas, I'm sorry, but you aren't going to even come close.
Yeah, as much as I'm hating on the Big 12 in the tournament this year, the SEC, puke.
Yeah. I feel like you should be ineligible if you lost to Missouri.
Mid-Tennessee is going to beat Minnesota, and then they will go beat Butler.
Ooh.
And whoever wins against out of the playing game, Wake Forest, Kansas State will beat Cincinnati.
Solid.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton.
UCLA, no one can hang with them scoring-wise. They're going to advance easily. And I'm going to have a UCLA. Hold on. No, that's not it. Hold on. Oh, UCLA will advance easily. Oh, I got lost. Wichita State will handle Dayton pretty easily as well. And we'll meet Kentucky. But I'm going to take Kentucky. And I'm going to take UCLA out of the bottom half.
All right. You've got a lot of respect for the Pac-12 this year.
I'm going to take UCLA bottom half and UNC out of the top half. And I'm going to have UCLA make it out there.
All right. Mr. Ian Jones, do you have any input on this regional?
Really, the bottom half looks more intriguing than the top half, to be honest. The bottom half, I like that Wichita State-Kentucky matchup. And the Cincinnati looks like a team that can get upset. I mean, the 6th seed and you're in the American Athletic Conference. I don't see them going far, really.
They look terrible.
So is SMU, but SMU is loaded this year, in my opinion. But I've got, in the Sweet 16, I've got in the bottom half, I'm going to go with UCLA. Now I'm going to get ballsy, and I'm going to say Wichita State. And then in the top half, I've got North Carolina and Middle Tennessee State. And it will be North Carolina, UCLA. And I'm going to say North Carolina goes to the Final Four, as much as I hate to say it.
First difference.
North Carolina to the Final Four.
So here's my take on the regional. First of all, I think if Wichita State can get by Dayton, I don't know much about Dayton, but I know Dayton's traditionally pretty good in the tournament. If Wichita State can get by Dayton, I'm going to go ahead and say Wichita State is going to be like top 5 game of the weekend. Like there's certain games that you know you want to see. Wisconsin Villanova was one earlier. If I have to go back and point them out, SMU Baylor is one of them. Michigan Louisville is one of my huge games I want to see. I'd like to see. I want to watch Middle Tennessee State Minnesota because apparently Middle Tennessee State is awesome. Anything I look at, like if you look at their
They have Perry Ellis's twin. I think that Upshaw guy.
yeah, but here's going to my classic stats versus the top 25. They have 0 wins. They're 0-1 against top 25. So they haven't really. I was looking at their schedule earlier. They have 4 losses, and I think all 4 of them. I'm not sure. They weren't too. They weren't. It wasn't like they played one of the blue bloods. They haven't played any big marquee matchups through the season outside of playing SMU within their own conference. So I'm not going to hop on a Middle Tennessee State bandwagon just yet. But I will be interested in seeing that game. Let's see what time that is. Noon on the 16th. So there you go. That's going to be one of the first games of the tournament in Middle Tennessee State and Minnesota. So I will be locked into that one. I don't have. I guess K-State or Wake Forest could probably knock off Cincinnati, but that's a matchup I don't care about because as high as Gilkey is on the Pac-12, I am high on one team from the Pac-12. I do like UCLA a lot, so I will probably be putting them into my Elite Eight. Wichita State, Kentucky, whichever one wins that of one of my top 5 matchups of the weekend, one of my top 8 matchups of the weekend. I'm excited to see UCLA and whatever team comes out of that. That's going to be a good game. But I'm going to go ahead and take UCLA in that one. I don't think I picked a team. See, these 4 and 5 matchups are awful for me this year. I don't see anybody in them that I look at and go, that's the one that's going to make the Sweet 16 and upset a 1 seed. Butler traditionally, they're always they're a good team to take to the Sweet 16 for you. So I don't like North Carolina. So I think either whether it's Middle Tennessee State or Butler, which I think that'll be the team that makes the Elite Eight. But in the end, I don't think it'll matter because I have UCLA advancing to my Final Four in my way too early picks. Subject to change. Watch my video that I make in the future about this because views, and I want people to watch my videos and think they're awesome. Continuing on with this bracket just a little bit because I like talking. I watched Minnesota a little bit. I'm not impressed. I don't think, I really wish North Carolina had a tough second round matchup because I wish their top half of the bracket was tough because that's the team I think I would take as a 1 seed to get upset early in the tournament is North Carolina.
They're streaky because they're not that great of a shooting team, and if they're not knocking down the trays at all, I don't think they could find a way to win.
See, like I said earlier, I said that the Midwest Regional was weak and that I didn't like any of the teams in it. The whole field feels weak to me this year, honestly. I don't see any powerhouse teams. There's normally about 6 to 10 teams that you go, all right, those are Final Four contenders, This year, there's still 6 to 10 teams, but they all feel slightly weaker than they normally do. I don't know. Is that just a vibe I have? But the whole field feels weak.
There's not really any team I'm thinking, oh, they're going to win the national title.
Well, there's no 2012 Kentucky or whatever year that was where they had the entire first round of the draft on their team. But there's not even any just solid power teams. I don't like Villanova. I don't like Kansas. I love Kansas, but I don't like the team too much. Yeah, North Carolina, I don't like them. Don't like them at all. Honestly, if you'd asked me, a few weeks ago, I would have told you that's a 2-3 seed, not a 1 seed. But, so yeah, I like UCLA to that regional just because I also don't like Kentucky. Malik Monk could, do the old strap the team on the back routine, but
You
We'll
could
see.
drop 40 on anybody if
Yeah,
you.
yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, UCLA for me.
I think Kentucky's the most talented team in this. Like, but at the same time, they're just incredibly streaky. There's times where Malik Monk doesn't even show up, and then the next game he could drop 40. But it's a tournament. You're one loss, you're done. He's gonna have to show up every time.
Yep, and that's my same thing with Kansas. Is they're a team that relies on the three a lot. They're a team that relies on their star guards, and I mean guards win in March, but Iowa State never wins in March, and they're
Well, they
always
only
guard and three led, and so I
do
think
more.
I
Their
think
other guard.
the fact that Kansas has the best point guard in the country means that they won't get blown out by anybody because he will always keep them competitive. The problem is being competitive means that it's close and that you could very easily lose it at the end. We saw that against TCU. We saw that against Iowa State. I don't count
And
Indiana as a loss.
I'm curious to see how Jackson handles
Yeah,
the tournament.
yeah.
Being,
I mean, how much lower will his free throw shooting percentage go when he's under pressure?
hopefully it at least stays the same and it doesn't lower.
Mm.
But
Nah. Let's move on to the West. We have the 1 seed in the West, the Gonzaga Bulldogs. Everybody loves them, and their 1 loss to BYU. The 2 seed is Arizona, the 3 seed is Florida State, the 4 seed is West Virginia, the 5 seed is Notre Dame, 6 seed Maryland, 7 seed St. Mary's. Who cares? That's where I normally say who cares after I say the 7 seed.
I think for once the 4-5 is not too bad.
Yeah, I can say that.
Notre Dame's good. West Virginia, they don't do good in the tournament, but I just think this they could do something.
This is
They
the
always
year.
They just have a great defense, and I mean, they're knocking down threes. They can beat anybody. Honestly, Gonzaga, people are high on them with 1 loss, but I never like Gonzaga. I never do.
Yeah.
To me, they're like the Chiefs of the NCAA tournament.
The 16 seed they're playing, the Jackrabbits, they have a guy who's second in the nation in scoring per game. If there was to ever be a 1-16 upset, it would be that game.
There you go, G.O.A.T.
I'm calling that right there. If there was to be one ever, it would be this year, and the Zags go down.
Hey, there we go. That's a hot take. Finally, we've been so damn pedestrian. I don't think anybody's even picked a 14 seed to upset, and those always happen. Oh, no, wait. I said
think
New
New Mexico State could be upset Baylor, but
I'm still going to take the Zags, but I'm just saying, if it were to happen,
Yeah,
it would be the.
So you're saying, wait, let's see what time that game is. I tune into everything, but who knows?
it's going to be late.
No, that is a noon game on Thursday.
Ooh.
So I will, one of the first games I'll definitely be watching. That's when I'm very excited.
Congrats to Northwest, their first tournament appearance in school history, I believe.
Yeah, while we're at it, I wish there's 2 strong 8-9 games: Wisconsin, Virginia Tech, Miami, Michigan State. Those are whichever one wins those 2 games. That's going to be a strong team that could possibly upset the 1 seed. Northwestern, Vanderbilt, and Arkansas Seton Hall, and the other 2, the second 2 that we're talking about. I don't like any of them.
I was just giving props to Northwestern.
I feel like Vanderbilt can do some damage. Not really much.
Didn't they lose to Mizzou by 20? Didn't we establish
They
that?
did, but they also beat Florida.
M-I-Z.
Z-O-U. But they also beat Florida 3 times this year, and if I'm going to look, let me go look real quick.
Okay, I would also say if I were to pick a 14 seed, Florida Gulf Coast could pull one off.
Yeah, see, I put that on a T for you guys because I figured somebody would slam Florida Gulf Coast right there. Be like, I have Florida Gulf Coast.
Florida State though is super long and athletic, and that's going to be tough for Florida Gulf Coast to deal with.
Uh,
But
I mean, I'm
I
pretty long and athletic.
mean, um, the VCU game, VCU, I think will take that. Um, Arizona is a good team. I honestly think they should be the number one, not Gonzaga, but Gonzaga has one freaking loss. So
So, we West Virginia and Notre Dame. We didn't touch on them all that much. I don't like from my opinion. I don't like pressing in the tournament because pressing works at home. It does not work on neutral sites. In my experience, you got to get the crowd behind you. You got to get them rattled. And Notre Dame, I don't know anything about them. I know they have that one guy. What's his name? I don't know. Who cares? Ian, I'm going to let you go ahead and kick off the pick segment.
All right, so out of the West, we're going to start in the top half of the bracket. And excuse the voice again. Don't yell 3 straight
I
nights in a row
smoked
as Florida does.
cigarettes for 83 years.
I don't do that, by the way. Top half of the bracket, we got Gonzaga. I've got Vanderbilt and Gonzaga meeting in the next round. And looking at Vanderbilt's schedule, I mean, they beat Florida 3 times this year. They beat South Carolina, which South Carolina is a streaky team. State, which, I mean, now doesn't seem like much. But they have key losses. A huge loss to Mizzou. They lost to Minnesota. I might have to go with Northwestern. I'll probably go with Northwestern in that matchup. Virginia. I'm going to say West Virginia. On that. So it'll be Gonzaga, West Virginia in the Sweet 16. And I'll go with the Zags in the Elite Eight. I'm going to take Arizona all the way to the Elite Eight. And then...
What's your opinion on like Maryland Xavier or Florida State, Florida Gulf Coast? Because in my opinion, that is a very intriguing pod right there in Orlando.
Maryland seems like a team. It doesn't seem like that great of a team. Xavier was good during the beginning of the season, then just kind of fell off. But I feel like they can kind of make a run. Xavier over Maryland, and then Florida Gulf Coast. It's going to be one of those really close games. That it's going to be Florida Gulf Coast keeps up with Florida State. But I think Florida State and Arizona in the Sweet 16, and Arizona and Gonzaga in the Elite Eight, and Arizona comes out in the Final Four.
All right, Ian Jones with Arizona in the Final Four. Yoki, would you like to go next?
yeah, I'll go. I'll take Gonzaga to the Elite Eight. I'll just say that now. It's a year, so they'll make it decently far. I do think West Virginia, they'll meet West Virginia. I'll give West Virginia this year. Normally I wouldn't. I'd normally pick Notre Dame, but I'm just going to go with the Big 12 here. West Virginia could give them a run, but I'll go with the Zags, even though I just said they could be the 1 seed that gets knocked off by a 16.
Yeah. Makes perfect sense, actually.
Yeah, it does. Maryland Xavier. That's interesting. Xavier's got one of the tallest teams in the nation, and they rebound the ball like crazy. But guards win, and Melo Trimble is a great guard. So I'm going to take Maryland. I like Maryland. Like I said, you have a guard like Melo Trimble. I think you can advance.
Yeah, he's the Perry Ellis of that team. He's been there for 73 years. So, I mean, how could you not? It's a name everybody knows that follows college basketball. So he's an easy one to follow like that.
Florida State. I'll take and I'll take Maryland over Florida State. Pac-12 I like for some reason. They're just Arizona will make the Elite Eight, I think, against the Zags, and I'll take Arizona in the Final Four.
Well, solid picks. So I was really hoping that Gilkey would also jump on Xavier in that 6-11 game because, spoiler alert, Maryland's going to go kind of decent, have a decent tournament in my bracket. But we got to start with the top half. I'm going to take Notre Dame and Gonzaga in the Sweet 16 because I don't like the Big 12. Gonzaga probably wins that game, but I'm going to be fun, and this is the bottom left regional is usually the regional where I'm just like, you know what, fuck it, let's do some upsets. So I'm taking Notre Dame into my Elite Eight. And in the bottom half of the regional, I will take Arizona all the way to my Sweet 16 because I don't like St. Mary's VCU, and who the hell is North Dakota, and what are they doing in my bracket. The top half of that, of the middle, okay, whatever, the 6-11 and 3-14, those are both games to watch over the first 2 days. They're in my top 8 favorite games of the opening weekend. I will take Maryland over Xavier, and I will probably take Florida Gulf Coast over Florida State just because I don't like that Florida State. They're not a basketball team. Florida Gulf Coast probably has a richer basketball history, at least in the tournament, than Florida State does. And out of that pot, I'm going to take Maryland to my Sweet 16. And then I'm going to take Maryland over Arizona. And now I've got a 6-5 matchup, and I'm going to take freaking Maryland into my Final Four.
Oh, wow. I like it.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm freaking excited about my 6 seed Maryland. So, my Final Four, that is unofficial, and you should still watch my bracket video when I decide to change my mind about Maryland and shit, is Duke, Maryland, Kansas, UCLA. This is your turn to talk about your Final Four picks.
Oh, my Final Four, it's going to be Duke and Arizona.
And on the other side?
Versus Kansas and North Carolina. And I've got, I'm going to say Duke.
Versus?
Wait, no. Yeah, Duke versus KU in the championship game.
And then your winner is?
Kansas. By 5.
Atta baby. Gilkey.
I'm going to take, my Final Four is Duke,
Kansas.
Arizona, KU, and UCLA, I believe I said.
And if KU wasn't in Oregon's regional, it'd be 3 Pac-12 teams.
Most likely. Shout out to Pac-12.
It's all because Brittany got you that Cali shirt. You now just feel like you've been transplanted.
Oh, no. I just...
Shout out Brittany Schaefer.
Sure, why not?
I'm going to tweet this link at her, and she's probably going to watch the entire thing.
Well, her ears are going to bleed. I'm sorry.
From hearing my smoker's cough.
I'm going to have... KU's going to win the national championship. Always got to go that way. And I think they will play Duke. Yeah, Duke. I think that.
He's very apprehensive about this.
Okay. First of all, yeah, I'll say Duke. I'll say Duke. KU versus Duke.
And give me a point total.
KU 73, Duke 68.
All right. So I had Duke, Maryland, Kansas, UCLA in Glendale, Arizona. The first matchup is Duke and Maryland, and in that matchup I shall take Duke because Duke is on a nice run. I think because you with the lower seeds, a lot of times when they make the Final Four, they then falter immediately afterwards. In the other half, it's Kansas, UCLA, and I have to pick Kansas because I'm wearing a KU hoodie right now. The final score of Kansas and Duke will be 75-68 because that's the 2008 score, and I always type that into the tiebreaker here on the ESPN Tournament Challenge bracket thingy. 75. KU wins 75-68. KU national champions. Bob Davis circa 2008.
And I'm going to throw this in here as well. My picks could very easily change.
Yeah, I was actually gonna give a disclaimer here in just a second. Here you go. Warning: all picks are not final. Our picks are subject to change without warning. If you have an erection lasting longer than 4 hours, please consult a doctor and tell him that you're a fucking champion and you're a sex warrior. I should have wrote something out better for that, but yeah. If you have an erection lasting longer than 4 hours, I'm proud of you. God damn.
Oh, man.
The story behind that opinion, I would still have the same opinion, but I remember when I was like, I don't know, 6, 7 years old or something, and there was a Viagra commercial on the TV, and my dad was like, most dudes, they wouldn't consult a doctor if they had an erection lasting longer than 4 hours. They'd probably just be happy as whatever. He probably didn't say happy as shit. He'd probably be like, they'd be proud of it or something. And in my young mind, I had no idea what that meant, but it's something that stuck with me.
I would be concerned. It'd be uncomfortable after a while.
Nah, man. Dude, just like imagine watching an entire NFL football game that went into overtime and just being rock hard the entire time.
What the hell?
You're going to have to watch a little bit of post-game or something too to get the full 4 hours. That's like watching like a 14-inning baseball game with an erection the entire time.
Why the hell?
Wait, that's not normal?
Elections?
Dude, I'm just saying. Erection talk. That's what people want out of this video. Anyway, I think that means we're about done. Anybody have anything else to say?
Sporting tied last night and the refs fucking suck. And FC Dallas, if any of your players are listening to this, you guys are a bunch of fucking pussies. Grow a fucking pair of balls.
Okay, that's enough of that. Sporting talk, done! This is the Selection Sunday special, but we can throw that in there. Other such topics that are important. I don't know if I mentioned this actually, but I agreed with Charles Barkley for the first time ever when he said that Wichita State and Mid-Tennessee State need more respect. I mentioned that earlier, but I wanted to point that out again. Charles Barkley, shout out.
You my boy. That's terrible though.
Gilkey, you got anything you need to say?
Well, you always got to shout out Charles. He's the man. I'm just curious to see how this all plays out. Like you said, I don't feel like the field is that strong, but at the same time, that should make it more competitive.
Oh yeah, we didn't pick nearly as many upsets as there's going to be. There's probably going to be, I don't know, 4 or 5, 12, 13 that win. There's going to be, I wouldn't be surprised if we have a Sweet 16 that features like 4 teams that nobody even would have thought of. We're gonna have a 14 seed in the Sweet 16. We're gonna have an 11 seed in the Sweet 16. It's gonna be a wild tournament, and that's why we watch it. Because if the 1 seeds always win out, who cares? And that's why we fill out brackets too.
Exactly.
So that wraps up the show, guys. glad if you stuck around this long. Give us suggestions on how we should make it better. If you enjoyed the video, you should click on the like button and leave comments. If you hated the video, you should click on the dislike video button and leave comments. If you haven't subscribed to me yet, you should do that, because once every 6 months I release a Call of Duty video, and once every week and a half to 2 weeks I release a podcast about sports. You just watched an episode. Go ahead and follow at Sports Talk Bones on Twitter. Go ahead and follow at the Caleb Short on Twitter. Go ahead and follow No Twitter Gilkey on Twitter.
And follow at the _ Ian Jones if you want to see my normal Twitter.
You betcha. And that's a wrap. This has been the KU Kills, signing off.